Hello, and welcome back to the Which is Greater des Jahres special. I said, welcome back!
It's time for the true awarding of the Kennerspiel des Jahres.
That's right, you may have heard the jury's predictions earlier in the year, but now it's time for the real thing.
Oh yeah.
The Kennerspiel recognises heavier, more complex games that are still accessible to a wider audience.
It's heavier because it has 2 flags on it.
Exactly!
That wasn't an early Wingspan pun, was it?
Not at all! Robin?
Go on, get on with it.
Yes! You'd have to have been living under a rook to not have been bombarded by the feathered facade of Wingspan over the last year. If you like birds, then this is the game for you. Isn't that right, Wise Owl? But what if you don't like birds? Well, first you should take a long, hard look at yourself. What do you think you are, a cat? Meow!
Matt, stop insulting the viewers.
But they don't like birds, Robin.
That's fine, they're noisy in the morning and they poo everywhere.
They're just marking their territory.
That's dogs.
You mean land birds? Fine, sorry. What you bird haters will care about are the mechanics, and these are wonderfully elegant. Choose an action, do the action, and then trigger the ability of each bird card in that row. As your rows fill, you naturally get to do more stuff, and so you get this feeling of progress built into the fundamental rules of the game. The player card action lets you add a new bird into your aviary, but you'll need the right combination of food in order to attract that bird. This action lets you gather more food pieces from the included cardboard bird feeder. Adding extra birds to rows will also start costing you eggs. Nobody makes an aviary without breaking a few eggs. Fortunately, you can get eggs by taking the lay eggs action. There's one, and there's a second. Finally, you can gain more bird cards to give you more options. What makes Wingspan sing is the collection of card abilities. Some gain you resources, some trigger on opponents' turns, some earn you bonus scoring cards, or some are just worth lots of points.
Card abilities? You mean like stealing the seeds from Robin's vegetable patch? Or like viciously murdering each other? Or like pooing all over my freshly washed car?
Actually, no. There's no pooing mechanics in Wingspan. Although, Jamie, if you're watching, Wingspansion idea?
He can't say guano to that.
Thanks to its giant stack of cards and numerous scoring opportunities, each game of Wingspan will be different. And, most excitingly to me, unpredictable. You can't go into a game of Wingspan saying, I will do this. Which birds choose to visit your hand defines your opportunities. And so each play is a tantalising mystery, a journey in which you're both driver and passenger, never quite sure what's going to be thrown at you next, but able to steer through the crisscrossing paths that open up each turn. I really like this game. So that's Wingspan, putting the great in my greatery.
Well, this video took a turn for the worst.
It's crowding out the competition.
I'll stop hawking on about it.
I'm surprised you don't like birds more, Robin.
Yeah, why?
Well, you know.
Oh, because of my name?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you? Oh look, there's Robin. He's got to love birds, they used to say. Lovely feathers today, Robin. Shows your red breast, Robin. Oh, stop it.
Come on, seize the day, Robin.
Hey, don't ruin my game. It's called Carpe Diem. In Carpe Diem, you'll be seizing tiles and stuffing them into your estate. Very neat and tidy. Just like each of its mechanics.
It's simple. Move your dude to one of the 2 bins opposite his current spot and take one of the tiles there. Then add it to your estate so that it touches a tile and all the edges match.
But when the tile you place completes a structure, you'll get an immediate reward.
The various farm regions plop out little wooden goods. The bigger the area, the more you get. The 2-part buildings offer different rewards depending on their colour. It could be coins, bread, an extra tile. The 1-piece tiles give immediate rewards, but smaller ones.
It's lovely classical Eurogaming. Just peacefully placing tiles without a care in the world. God, it's the scoring round! It's the scoring round! Run!
Red feels alive!
Each scoring round requires you to fulfill the requirements of 2 adjacent scoring cards in this grid.
Didn't I say that everything about this game was neat?
They might ask you to trade in certain specific goods, those little wooden pieces, from your farm tiles, or demand that you've constructed certain types of building.
If you can fulfill it, you'll score those points shown. But if you can't, you'll lose those points.
Thank the gods, then, for bread. This wonder resource can be spent to fulfill the criteria of any scoring objective, but the 3-loaf cost is not easy to acquire either.
Of course! My emergency bread! Please accept this humble loaf, O mighty scoring. Oh, thank God it's gone. For now. There are 4 scoring rounds, each one like an agonizing weight on your mind. Every card requires multiple tiles to fulfill, but you only have 7 turns to prepare for the next round.
And once you choose a spot on the grid, your score marker blocks that spot for the entire game.
You can aim to build up to scoring certain cards in the late game, but you need to be flexible in case some horrible sod steals the spot you're after.
What?
Not only will you fear losing points, but by clever play, you can score multiple cards at once. Carpe Diem lets experienced players shine.
Or you can do the bare minimum towards the scoring rounds and spend that extra time building a massive villa for endgame points. Or you can make sure to collect lots of scrolls to keep ahead of your opponents on the scroll track.
That sounded more impressive in my head. But anyway, being first on the scroll track gives you first pick in the scoring rounds, which in turn gives you serious peace of mind. But how risky you want to play is in your hands. Just remember that the tile selections and choices of the other players have a big impact on you too, which ratchets up the tension even higher when it comes to those pivotal scoring rounds.
Carpe diem? More like crappe diem, am I right?
Sounds like somebody got caught by the scoring monster.
No.
Oh yeah? Yeah? What's that under your jacket then?
It's nothing.
That's a loaf of bread.
I just carry bread around in case. Let's quickly scroll past that one, shall we? And go on to Detective.
Again?
You're right, we have already covered Detective on a previous episode of Which is Greater. So we're just going to do a quick summary here. Detective is a mystery game featuring a deck of cards per case. Each lead you choose to pursue will direct you to one of the numbered cards, which you will read. Each lead also takes a certain amount of time. Once you run out, you must face the questions in the online app, an app which is also used for documenting important characters, reading interview transcripts, and comparing evidence. All the trappings of a modern detective. At various points, you'll also be faced with decisions on whether to press witnesses further or spend more time searching through records, spending resources as you do so.
And read card text more tedious than you can possibly imagine.
Detective does some really fantastic things, and it's a great twist on a fairly limited genre. But it definitely has some flaws, and that knocks it back compared to the other two.
Therefore, I deduce that we're not giving the award to Detective.
Not when Wingspan is practically perfect. Right, Wise Owl?
It's not perfect.
It is! Wise Owl just said so. Isn't that right, Wise Owl?
It's a stuffed toy, Matt.
How dare you hurt Wise Owl?
I can't hurt it.
No! Oh, there.
Wingspan is not perfect.
It's a game of finding combos from a deck of cards. The objectives are usually about certain card properties which you just might not draw.
Which means you can luck into an awesome set of birds or not.
The luck aspect is something that's been completely overstated. Yes, there's randomness, but Wingspan is a game about making the most of what you draw. Even a great combo has to be added to your aviary in the right way and ran in efficient combination with everything else. Most specific demands tend to apply to 1 in 5 birds or better, at which point keeping an eagle eye on the market can be enough.
But it's a damn sight easier to do well when you just pulled a perfect combo out of thin air.
I don't think that there are perfect combos. I mean, the card abilities are just not that special. It's like gain a resource or a future point. Yes, there are, spend fruit to make jam type abilities, which are obviously improved in combination with
get fruit abilities, but it's also driven by the take food action. Just having more birds in that row will make that card more powerful.
And you can win while not having much of any bonuses by having high-scoring birds and optimizing the objective scoring.
Or just lay loads of eggs. I mean, what are people's last turns always like?
Okay.
Eggs. Lay eggs. Lay eggs. Lay eggs. Lay eggs. Lay eggs. 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 Eggs.
Because each egg is worth a point at the end of the game, and an optimized egg row can produce 4 eggs in a turn.
Everyone's last turns is just spam eggs.
Spam and eggs.
Take it you're agreeing with me then.
No! Although, yes, it is quite common. It's kind of the easy play that new players will find themselves falling into, but it's not necessarily the best play. Depends on what you've set yourself up for.
Failure?
Speak for yourself.
I will.
Carpe Diem should win because it makes you want to feel something.
The most special thing about Wingspan is its uniform blandness, an experience so smoothed down that you don't feel anything when you play it. Carpe Diem may be punishing, but at least it punishes fairly, and that makes it memorable, whereas the only thing to remember Wingspan for is its style rather than its substance.
I disagree, and so does my owl. I still get that excitement tension as I go into the second half of the game, where I'm starting to wonder whether I've set things up right and whether I'm going to be able to do the things that I want to do, whether I'm going to win. It's not as tense as Carpe Diem. But Carpe Diem starts to lose its edge once you get more experienced and can maximize the opportunities that are there.
But then, in Carpe Diem, you start reaching for riskier things or blocking your opponents, and then the other players become the drivers of tension. You always feel like you can do better.
Just like you do in Wingspan.
That simple choice of what action to take hides a wealth of opportunities for incremental efficiency. When you desperately want to get a certain card out, but you don't have quite the right food or eggs, you feel like you should have organized things better, especially when the end of round scoring is happening.
Just like Carpe Diem.
Except it's not, because of their two very different philosophies. Carpe Diem is about punishment for falling short and about reward for excelling.
Versus letting everyone enjoy and engage with the game equally regardless of skill level. Now let's talk about theme.
Oh...
What an original theme, what a joy to look through these cards. How neatly the card abilities fit the birds themselves.
Look.
Tile laying in the Mediterranean meets farming. He couldn't have picked a more staid theme if he'd tried.
It's fine. There's always a level of abstraction to tile laying games, just this one in particular. Look, I mean, I'm building an estate. You're building an aviary, we're both doing things for points, even I can pick out the good elements.
For instance, I build a farm which produces grapes. At the market I can trade those in for coins. It's perfectly thematic.
Just because Wingspan has cards and therefore more opportunities to implement its theme doesn't mean it actually does implement it better than Carpe Diem.
Well, firstly, it does, and secondly, thematic novelty is so important. In this case, it brings an excellent, accessible game to a much wider audience, and that's why Wingspan should win. Look to your heart in that bright red breast of yours, Robin. You know it's true.
Fine.
Thank you for watching our Kennerspiel special. The Kennerspiel.
Yeah, just 6 months after the real awards.
The predictions, the very early predictions.
Yes, I do wonder what they'll predict next year.
So make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss out on whatever we do next.
Yeah, and please let us know which of these games you'd have picked to win.
And if this video gets enough likes, Robin has promised to show us all his red breast.
Wait.
Isn't that right, Wise Owl?